Today at 9, a deadly tournament. World Cup officials have released a concerning statistic.
Taking the next step, see which UNLV football star is going on to the pros.
And we have editor-in-chief of the Scarlet and Gray here in studio. She'll talk about the future of the newspaper here on Studio G.
Now, news that matters to you on campus and beyond. Live. You're watching Studio G.
Thank you for joining us today on Studio G. I am Barry Sabine.
And I'm Mia Nakamura. And today we have a disturbing statistic released by Qatari officials. Yesterday, the World Cup chief said that between 400 to 500 migrant workers died preparing for the World Cup. According to Qatar's World Cup Organizing Committee, 3 deaths were work-related, while 37 deaths were non-work-related. Information from USA Today's migrant worker database shows how each worker's death was described with acute heart failures due to natural causes. According to Steve Cockburn, the Amnesty International head of economic and social justice believes the extreme heat and demanding working conditions likely contributed to these deaths.
In better news today, gas prices are finally dropping. According to AAA, confirms that the national average for gas prices hits $3.47. The average is to be lower than $3.54 on average on February 24th, which was the day Russia invaded Ukraine. Looking ahead, for some forecasts suggest that prices could drop even further by Christmas. Unfortunately, here in the Valley, we are still at an average of $4.60, but maybe this will change. So stay with us in the coming weeks for more updates.
And Harry Reid International Airport exceeded 5 million passengers served in a single month during October. This record number was up 24% in comparison to last October. According to the Director of Aviation of Clark County, they are preparing for more visitors by beginning months-long projects early next year to increase public parking options. And now let's send it over to Bree to see how the weather may impact travel as we approach the holidays. Bree?
Yes, thank you, Mia. It is officially December 1st, and as you can see, we have a look of Mount Charleston behind me, which may receive some snowfall here as we approach cooler temps in the valley. A La Nina winter, however, can be expected for the 3rd year in a row. It will hit Las Vegas with warmer than average temperatures, such as previous years. This, however, also means a drier season. On the other end, it will be much cooler and wet in the northern parts of the country. As you can see, precipitation that has developed yesterday caused power outages in the northwest with icy conditions and several inches of snow as they accumulated. But we will keep you updated on how this Pacific storm develops here. Back to you guys at the desk.
Families in need of the Valley can get access to affordable dental care over the next few days through the Ronald McDonald Care Mobile Team. Offers oral health care for children up to the age of 21. They will be at the MLK Family Medical Center today until 5 p.m. You can make an appointment with the Care Mobile Team by visiting Nevada Health Center's website.
UNLV Honors College and the Philosophy Department have teamed up to co-host a campus thrift store. I love thrifting. I even got this dress thrifted. But the thrifting will be for animals, which will sell gently used items, including clothing, sporting goods, and books for $5 or less. Proceeds will be donated to the Poppy Foundation, a local cat sanctuary to cats with special needs. The event will be held Monday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Valerie Pita Plaza. And those who would like to donate can drop donations off at the Philosophy Department in the Central Desert Complex. And how can you tip the scales of UNLV journalism? We have Vanessa Booth, editor-in-chief of Scarlet and Gray, in studio to discuss the future of the paper.
And Pacific Islanders are on the rise.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer. In terms of the hate crimes, I think there is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
You know, a lot of people say when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. I can't lie and say it was easy. I looked at everything in a different light. I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
If you're buzzed and doing this to make yourself feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive.
Amanda's my queen. We lost her so young, but I'm blessed that I got to spend 30 years with her. It was New Year's Eve. Everything was fine. Sunday morning, she couldn't hardly breathe. At the ER, Amanda tested positive for COVID-19. That next morning, I called, and they said, we've moved your wife into ICU COVID. She's not doing very well. Doctor said, we have to put Amanda on a ventilator. They've induced a coma. I'm still calling every 4 hours, 28 days now in a row. I was never allowed in the hospital. COVID attacked her lungs, kidneys, liver, swelling in the brain, and she just never woke up. Decision was made on day 34. God promises eternal life, but we're not guaranteed tomorrow. We can argue whether the vaccine got here quick enough or didn't, but it was my duty to get vaccinated. Squeeze them and squeeze them hard. And when you get done, squeeze them one more time.
Tomorrow, the Board of Regents will vote if students should pay Scarlet and Gray 20 cents per credit hour. Now we have Vanessa Booth, the editor-in-chief here, to talk about why this is important. Thank you, Vanessa, for being here today.
Thank you.
And I just want to ask, why was the reason that you decided charging students was the best course of action?
Well, after further discussion with UNLV administration, CSUN student government and graduate student government, and even the journalism school, we realized that the best funding mechanism to sustain the paper indefinitely was a student fee. Just because, even though there is quite a bit of government dollars available at the university, we still have to compete against other orgs each year for that money. And we just realized a student fee of 20 cents per credit hour would be a small price to pay to sustain the student newspaper on campus forever, really.
And this 20 cents equals about $140,000 a year for students, and that's right now 3 times the amount that the RJ is currently giving you. So how are you going to allocate this extra money?
So this extra money is going to look at expanding our staffing capabilities, our operations, simple things like we need are updating printers, hosting our websites, having more marketing options like analytics. That's all really expensive. There's a lot of positions that we've put on hold, like assistant editorial positions that we want to bring back. We've just realized with the upkeep and the needs of the student newspaper coming back in person to campus that we need to basically have a nice room to digitize and keep all of our archives from 1955. There's just a lot of things like broken pipes here and there that we just need a bigger budget allocated for to essentially sustain the paper and continue business as usual.
And I've seen proponents say that instead of charging every student for the paper, just charge the students who just want to pick up a paper and read. Mm-hmm. What do you kind of respond to that?
I think, a thriving campus has an informed campus, and so I think at one way or another during someone's college career, they're going to come in contact with us. Whether there's a story about them in the paper, they went to a game and see the game that they went to in the paper and they pick it up. In some fashion, we deliver a service to students by giving them a voice and representing their opinions every week in the student newsletters and the way that we cover. One thing I would say to that also is that in order to have a thriving college campus, you also have to have student journalists. We're a breeding ground for future journalists, and your campus is only as informed and strong as your student newspaper is.
And what about people who say that printing is just expensive? I read that the RJ is now cutting you guys for printing, so how are you guys going to deal with that?
So we've already kind of made adjustments with our ad sales team to kind of cover that, and Student Affairs has been super helpful in covering the costs of that as well with a grant essentially. But for a long-term solution, printing actually costs approximately $12,000 right now, just because we've scaled back to a 12-page count when printing. We print less than 1,000 copies, which is not like our desired need for printing, because we've noticed that pickup rates have gone higher and there's a bigger demand for print on campus. But overall, that's like the smallest, I would say, problem with our budget right now, just because even if we remove the printing costs, we still are in dire need of money to be able to operate as usual. And
what about other organizations on campus that also need money, right? Because I know we're not being charged we're not charging students for every credit hour. So what do you kind of say to other organizations? Because
Yeah, no, definitely. I know it's a tricky situation, and I've been lobbying with regents and other campus administration. They've always said the same thing to me too, but I think it's always a last resort to go and charge students. I don't like fees. Nobody likes fees. You know, tuition's increasing every day. But I think one thing to keep in mind, we're the tiniest fee on the Board of Regents agenda. You know, we're going to amount to maybe $3 per student, depending on how many classes they take, and that's at most. When it comes to competing with other campus orgs, I think it's really important. This has been 12 months in the making. We've lobbied with CSUN, gotten a resolution from CSUN student government, an endorsement from graduate student government, and basically full-fledged support from all of campus administration, which is really like rare. For many student-imposed fees. It's very rare that students come forward and say this is the solution that needs to be put in place. And so what I would say to those other organizations is to lobby, to see what other funding mechanisms are available, and talk to students. I think the most impactful thing for us was talking to CSUN.
And thank you so much, Vanessa. And what can students do if they do want to support you guys?
So I would recommend them to attend the Friday Board of Regents meeting at 11 o'clock a.m. Tune in to give public comment. Basically, you get up there, you state your name for the record, and just urge the regents to vote yes on this item, because essentially it would sustain us for the future and create future journalists at UNLV.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Vanessa. And just ahead, one of UNLV's own setting his sights on the NFL draft. Find out who after the break.
And Pacific Islanders are on the rise.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer. In terms of the hate crimes, I think there is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
You know, a lot of people say when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. I can't lie and say it was easy. I looked at everything in a different light. I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
If you're buzzed and doing this to make yourself feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive.
Even though we didn't grow up together, he's my favorite brother.
Hey, sis.
I'm the baby of the family, and he's the gentle giant.
What you know about Port Georgia?
Man, please, that's a classic.
You know when they say people are a rare breed? Yeah, he's that.
I'm sorry, I'll be back in a few hours.
Don't worry, Shug, you know I'm for you.
I know.
Go get the football.
That was my favorite memory. He was always for ya. This is a true story of me, Bridget Floyd, and this guy, George Perry Floyd Jr., my big brother.
For today's Military Spotlight, the focus is on mental health and specifically those who help with mental health within the military. For this, our reporter Chris Clark spoke to a former military member who is now a chaplain.
My name is Tamia Dow, and I am an alumni of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Chaplain, yeah.
I graduated in 1983 with a criminal justice degree. I am currently the UNLV Veterans Alumni Association's Vice President and President-elect for 2023.
Tamia Dow became an ordained minister and chaplain here in Las Vegas, a natural progression for her given her experience in the military as a leader in the officer corps of the Army. Additionally, she was a detective in the police force, another experience that prepared her for becoming a chaplain.
Whatever reason they picked up the phone to call the police, they want the police officer to come and to calm that situation and to give them some insight into exactly what they're supposed to do to be able to live a peaceful life. Because everybody wants the goal of living a peaceful life. And to me, I believe that's what a chaplain brings.
In the military, a fear for most is asking the question of if someone is thinking about committing suicide. It is an important question to ask given the military suicide rate per day could be up to 44 per day, according to Military Times. Tamia believes we must be blunt when asking this question.
We should be able to say, you know what? Okay, you've been drinking way too much. You've been giving your stuff away. What really is going on? They'll give you some story. I know you. What really is going on? Some other story. Listen, man, are you thinking about killing yourself? Straight up, right? You're not going to put it in their mind to kill themselves because you've asked that question.
Lastly, the holidays are typically a high point for stress rates that lead to suicides. Tamia spoke about the holiday season and what the Veterans Alumni Club is doing during this festive period and events veterans can get involved in.
We have a Christmas event coming up where we're going to be, it's called the Toy Jam, and it's going to be happening at the Mini Grand Prix in December. So we'll be doing an event where we're handing out gifts and toys to the community children. And we invite everyone that's a veteran to come too, so you can get to meet the veterans, from our board there, and then we invite other veterans to come too and to enjoy the children getting their gifts, which is such a blessing to watch their faces light up.
Talking and acknowledging mental health is only the first step in destigmatizing the conversation in mental health. And that Toy Jam is this weekend on December 3rd from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. Remember that whether you are a military member or not, mental health has resources that are available to you by dialing 988. Or if you're here on campus, you can go to the Student Wellness Center for a variety of free mental wellness workshops.
Before we send you off for the weekend, there's a whole lot of sporting events to go over ahead. Plus, we have a big announcement from UNLV football. First up, the Vegas Golden Knights continue their road trip tonight, heading to the Steel City to play the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight at 4 p.m. Vegas comes off a win against the Columbus Blue Jackets in a shootout, while Pittsburgh, however, is coming up against a loss against the Carolina Hurricanes on Tuesday.
It's a big group of us that all went to hibachi last night, so that was fun. I think a lot of our clothes still smell like hibachi, so hopefully we can get that out. We still have quite a long time on this road trip. That's my only concern, I would say.
The Raiders returned home after another walk-off for a date against the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers' last time in Vegas was in Week 18 in a slugfest to close out the NFL regular season. Kickoff comes at 1 p.m. And back here on campus, UNLV football wrapped up their season just last week, painting the Fremont Cannon red once again. However, the Rebels have a new reason to be proud of. UNLV's very own Adam Plant Jr. has declared for the 2023 NFL Draft. Plant tweeted this statement out just yesterday, announcing his intentions. The defensive lineman had a career-best 55 total tackles, 7 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles this season for the Rebels.
And for a hoops doubleheader, Saturday, the Lady Rebels hit the road to play against the University of Pacific. On the road, the Lady Rebels will join the Runnin' Rebels behind on their undefeated year so far. Heading to that game will be tipped off at 2 p.m. And also the undefeated Runnin' Rebels hit the floor on the road this weekend against the University of San Diego Toros, coming off a convincing win against Life Pacific with a score of 126-54. Tip-off for that game comes at 7 p.m. to end off the doubleheader on Saturday.
And now, this is Studio G weather.
Hello everyone, my name is Brandon DeLeon and it is time for your daily weather forecast. As a winter storm that affected the Pacific Northwest yesterday continues, a winter advisory is in place for the Sierra Nevada and Rocky Mountains for snow and high winds. Those winds, however, will translate here in the valley. As you can see, the winds from the storm will shift and make waves. There's currently a wind advisory out from 10 a.m. this morning to 4 a.m. on Friday. So take extra precaution when driving, as speeds may hit up to 20 to 30 miles per hour with gusts around 45. Right now in the valley, it is 47 degrees and the low wind speeds are hitting 5 miles per hour, but will advance as we approach 10 into 11 a.m. Moving on into our valley temperatures, it's a bit warmer than it was yesterday. Heading in right here at UNLV, we're going to be at 47 degrees, a bit more up. You're going to hit 49 and 48 into Sunrise, and moving along down to Boulder and Henderson, still in that 49, 48, almost in that 50 range. And for our 7-day forecast, today we are at a high of 59 degrees and low of 46. And that steady weather is going to continue into the weekend and go up a bit of Sunday. It's going to hit 65 degrees. And we'll be getting a bit cooler as we transition into the next week. And that's all I have for you guys right here. Sending it back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Bree. And for this week's Star in the Valley is Police Officer Trung Tai. On October 13th, Officer Tai was shot and killed while responding to a domestic disturbance call not far from UNLV's campus. He had served with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department for 23 years.
Officer Greg Hilton worked with Officer Tai every weekend for the past 2 years before his sudden and tragic death. Hilton recalls Officer Tai's legacy as always wanting to teach, mentor, and help other officers in their line of duty.
We try to carry on that legacy. You know, in many ways, I guess in all the ways, Tai gave his life for this job. That's how strongly he felt about it.
Officer Hilton and Officer Tai's work relationship quickly blossomed into a close friendship where they went on trips together on Tai's boat.
You know, we had a lot of good laughs out on his boat. I have a really funny picture, and I can share it with you, of him holding a fish that he caught, and it's hilarious because he was a terrible fisherman. So those are the things that I'll definitely remember. Those special moments where, you know, you're out of the spotlight, maybe not on the job, just kind of getting to know one another and spending time together. And the bottom line is this job it can be brutal. And you see things you don't want to see, you deal with things you don't want to deal with. But you develop a special bond with those that you work with, because no one really can understand it except your brothers and sisters who are going through it as well. And so it's exceptionally hard when there's that loss, but remembering the good times is definitely what will keep pressing us forward. Tai, we love you, we care about you, and we miss you. And looking forward to seeing you again at some point, and we're going to hold the line.
There is no better person to call our last star in the valley than Officer Tai. Tai gave his life to help and serve people like me and you, so we know our valley is safe.
Spotify Top 5 is back, and we will have that more on the entertainment coming up next.
If you're a parent, you've done it all this past year. But the one thing you may not have done is take care of yourself. At Boys Town, we know that a parent's mental health is important too. Visit boystown.org/stressedout for great self-care tips for parents. You can even download an ebook to guide you and your family through self-care strategies, because healthy parents are key to happy families.
2022 is coming to a close, so let's see what's new in entertainment in this week's Weekend Rundown. The end of the year is here, and Spotify and Apple Music have officially released their music rewinds. Spotify Wrapped and Apple Music Replay highlight each user's top listened to songs and albums, and include how many minutes were spent listening to music. Bad Bunny was the most streamed musician globally for the third year in a row. He is followed by Taylor Swift, Drake, The Weeknd, and BTS. And speaking of BTS, the K-pop band announced a new docuseries, BTS Monuments, Beyond the Star, coming to Disney+. It will cover their story from their debut to today and will contain never-before-told candid stories. It is set to be released on 2023. And here locally, Jack Harlow will return as a headliner resident performer at Resorts World and Zouk nightclub for 2023. The first-class rapper will be taking over Zouk on Saturday, March 18th and May 27th. Tickets are currently on sale at the Zouk website. What do we miss in this week's Weekend Rundown? Let us know on Studio G_UNLV. Back to y'all at the desk.
You know, Barry, my favorite thing besides the holiday at the end of the year is Spotify Wrapped.
Yeah, it gets an idea of what you've been listening to. How many minutes did you accumulate this year?
Okay, Barry, I'm a little bit embarrassed.
No, don't be embarrassed.
50,000 minutes.
Whoa.
What about you?
I got to 30,000, but that just means that, you know, we love listening to music here. And thank you for joining us today on Studio G.
And be sure to tune in next week for our last week of shows.